verse 25, which says, Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who exercises faith in me, even though he dies, will come to life. John 5:28 and 29 says, do not be amazed at this, for the hour is coming in which all those in the memorial tombs will hear his voice and come out. Those who did good things to a resurrection of life, and those who practiced foul things to a resurrection of judgment. Revelations chapter 21 and verse 3 and 4. That with that I heard the Lord a loud voice from the throne say, look, the tent of God is with mankind. He will reside with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them. And he will wipe out every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more. Neither will mourning, nor outcry, nor pain be anymore. The former things have passed away. And that First Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 and 14 says, moreover, brothers, we do not want you to be ignorant about those who are sleeping in death, so that you may not sorrow as the rest do, who have no hope. For if we have faith that Jesus died and rose again, so too God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep in death through Jesus. Our reading passage shall be a world without tears. Think of a world without tears, where a man can live for 1,000 years with never a grief, or ache, or pain, and never a thought of dying again. Think of a world where a man plants a vine. He can sit in his shade and say, this is mine. He will live in the house his own hands have made, and naught shall molest or make him afraid. Think of the earth as a global paradise where mountains and deserts will dazzle your eyes with beautiful flowers and shrubbery and trees, with butterflies, songbirds, and bees. Think, just as sure as God's word is great, if God's word is truth, a man will go back to the days of his youth. His flesh shall become as the flesh of a child, and words that he speaks shall be cheerful and mild. Think of a world where the dead will have risen from their silent tombs that have held them in prison, to live forever, to love and caress their loved ones and friends in true righteousness. Now, a world without tears is not just a dream, as many a person may make it seem. For just as sure as the Bible is true, the world without tears now lies before you. Our next selection shall be an instrumental, shall be He Will Call. Next, we will have the obituary. Now, I have to make you smile because as Miss Alicia and I were talking about this obituary after it had been printed, I told her that the way her family wrote this, it took up the next part, which was mine too, which was the discussion. So we're going to combine the two. There's going to be the obituary reading and immediately following that, the celebration of life discussion. But honoring, remembering John P. Gathers and honoring the life and legacy. With profound sadness and heartfelt love, we announce the peaceful passing of our beloved father, grandfather, brother, uncle, and friend, John P. Gathers, on the evening of February 17th, 2026. John was born October the 21st, 1962 in Manhattan, New York, to the late Rhoda Green. As the youngest of three children, he was raised with deep love and strong values by his late grandmother, Julia Gathers, in the Maryville community of Georgetown, South Carolina. That foundation of faith, resilience, and compassion shaped the man that he would become. He graduated from Howard High School in Georgetown, South Carolina, and later pursued his passion by attending trade school to earn his CDL license. In his mid-20s, he fulfilled his dream of becoming a truck driver, a career that reflected his love for the open road and his independent spirit. Never one to shy away from hard work, John proudly founded his own business, Johnny on the Spot, a lawn care business serving his community with dedication and pride. John was a man of warmth and undeniable presence. He never met a stranger, only friends he hadn't spoken to yet. Whether in conversation with family, catching up with friends, or chatting with someone he had just met, John could talk about anything and everything. He loved traveling, car shopping, and most of all, spending time with those he loved. Though life brought its share of challenges, John's love for his family never wavered. He was a devoted father who offered wisdom, guidance, and steady support to his children and grandchildren. His laughter filled rooms, his advice shaped lives, and his strength inspired those around him. He will be remembered for his wisdom, his protection, his stories, and the way he showed up in moments that mattered. His legacy of love, kindness, humor, and perseverance will forever live on in the hearts of those he cherished. John leaves to treasure his two daughters, Sherry Priest of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Alicia Priest with his son-in-law Joel O'Day of Florence, South Carolina. Three sons, Melshawn Robinson of Bruce Creek, South Carolina, Jonathan Armstead, and Lakeisha S. Lennon of Myrtle Beach, and Joshua Gathers of Florence. Eight grandchildren, Alacia Croker, Andon Robinson, Azadra Dobbins, Brass Robinson, Kanisha Armstead, Malik Armstead, Thurston Robinson, and Tyler Priest. One sister, Miss Julia Gathers of Las Vegas, Nevada. One niece, Michelle Caltus Johnson of Las Vegas, and a host of extended family and dear friends who will forever hold him in their hearts. He will be deeply missed and forever loved. As we gather today and remember John, we ought to look at ourselves. John's life read and lived like the truck that he drove. Mhm. A long distance truck is designed to move large loads from place to place. Now, I don't profess to be able to drive an 18-wheeler, but there's some common knowledge about the manual transmission and its movement. And those of us who know how to drive, hold with the stick on the floor, we know. John started his life in first gear. We all start the road of life in first gear. First gear is the lowest gear. It is the gear that moves the truck along real slow. Now, John was born in Manhattan, New York, first gear. As a baby, he faced the same challenges as all of us. He learned the basics of walking, talking, eating, and other things, etc., etc., etc. When he moved to Georgetown with his grandmother, he began to learn the basics of life as a child growing up. I'm sure that at some point in his life, he heard that poem where the first verse says, "Life for me ain't been no crystal stairs." I think Georgetown might have been his second year. because early in his life, he experienced some bumps in the road. As relayed to me by Alicia, John had to deal with the death of his grandmother at an early age. However, John didn't downshift. He pumped that clutch and shifted to another gear. He finished high school and continued his education to fulfill his desire to become a truck driver. Now, John's life of driving exposed him to new sights, sounds, and adventures. All of his children, all of his children have told me tales of his travel. Alicia says, Daddy loved to travel. Jonathan remembered that John took him on his first trip to the mountains. Joshua was able to recount trips up and down the East Coast with his father. Melshon remembers riding in the truck with him. Another gear. So just like driving the truck, you can't stay in the same gear too long. You've got to shift to another gear. Because the goal is to get the cruising speed. John was a proud father of 5. 2 girls who are now women, 3 boys who are now men. And they had fond memories of their dad. Across the board, when I spoke and asked questions about their dad, of course, Alicia says she's daddy's girl. I don't know what Sherry's going to say about that. But she felt that she could go to her dad about anything at any time, even the most ridiculous ideas, and he would listen and give sound guidance. She also remembers that he essentially paid for her wedding in Africa to a son-in-law who he met on the phone. Jonathan remembers, and these are his words. His dad was not always on time, but was on time when he came through. Sounds like a song, but no, doesn't it? His dad was willing to help anyone and everyone. He could not pass a stranded car without offering help. Right now, Jonathan would tell his dad, Dad, you did a good job. You taught me a lot. I didn't know it until I used the lessons that you taught me. Joshua remembers all the conversations in the truck. He and his dad talked about life and his ups and downs. He learned that nobody was perfect. We all make mistakes and we must learn from them. His dad helped him to become an independent thinking man. Sherry just remembers that her dad was easy to talk to about things silly and serious. He never met a stranger. She remembers that trip to Endura Farms, and if we know what Endura Farms is, that's the farm down in Sally where they have what I call exotic animals. They got the lions and the tigers and the bears and the giraffes and the camels and so forth and so on, and they're all running free. Her dad was afraid of some of the animals and asked his family why they took him to Jurassic Park. One of his favorite things was to walk on the water on the beach. She wants you to know that her daddy was loved and that he loved people. He did not know how to share it at times, as many of us do, but he did his best to show love. Melshon remembers his trip to Florida to drop off Kenny. Is Kenny here? He remembers his dad taking him to the beach, and most of all, he remembers riding on the truck with him. During John's life, He moved out of the low range gears to the high range gears. He reached cruising speed. He became the man that he was destined to be. In life, there are going to be bumps in the road, unseen curves, sudden stops, mechanical problems. But I am told by his children to share with you that John faced all of these obstacles, seen and unseen, with tenacity that is unrivaled. So as we look at our lives, we can take stock. We should reflect on the gears in our life. Are we at cruising speed? Or are we just shifting gears and going nowhere? I believe that every life is a lesson to us all. When I look back on John's life, I see a man who did not give up, but he gave out. I see a man who made an impact on everyone he touched. I see a man who loved and was loved. What do you see? John has reached the end of his road, but I'd like to submit to you that the end of the road is not death. I'll say that again. The end of the road is not death. The end of the road is recognizing a life well lived. Thank you for listening. May we have our next musical selection, Trouble Don't Last Always. Oh, technology. At this point, we are now going to repair to our cars to process to Sunset Memory Gardens for the deposit of matters in this resting place. This way. I would be remiss if I did not stand before you on behalf of this family to say thank you for showing that it was not robbery your time to share with them. I'm sure that they always tell me that when you're setting like this, it's not polite to turn around and and look back and see who's there. But they feel your presence and they thank you for your presence. But thank you most of all for the prayers that you give them during these hours. And we ask for your continued prayers. For many of you have sat on this front seat, and you know that it does not end today, nor next week, nor next. But we solicit your continued prayers. God will give you strength. Will show them this love as they now begin this life without the physical presence of the gathers. But family, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to stand before you today. It is my hope that some things have been said that will ease your walk, ease you into this walk. And of course, our staff would like to thank you for allowing us to be a part of this celebration. But now that this part of the services are complete, ladies and gentlemen, you may consider yourselves dismissed. Family, if you would rise, and if you would allow the family to move toward the door.